And what I'm going to talk about today in this video is my raw vegan life and dealing with relationships, family, spirituality, and friends. This is kind of a subject that a lot of people have asked me about. How do I stay on a raw vegan lifestyle? How do I stay focused? Is my husband on a raw vegan lifestyle? All these different questions that I get. And I'm going to start off with my relationship with my husband. 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, maybe 5.5 years now that we actually met, he became sort of a vegetarian. My husband is a Southerner. I am not a Southerner by nature. I have lived in the South for 25 years. I was born in Pennsylvania. So I was raised with a little bit of different food backgrounds and things, but he was interested in not eating as much meat. You know, in a Southern culture, which I married into a big Southern family, and I have kids that were raised more or less Southern in the South, and my grandkids are basically Southern. So, you know, I've acclimated to the lifestyle living in the South and really like it. But there are different eating patterns for different places that you live. And in the South, of course, there's a lot of fried foods, and there's a lot of rolls and cornbread and all these real heavy things that aren't really supposed to be healthy for us. But he was looking to get off of that stuff, and he did go a little bit raw with me for a while. I was kind of toying back and forth a little bit with raw before I met him, and I ended up becoming completely raw, and he kind of went a little raw and then went away from it. So how do I handle being in a relationship with somebody that is not raw or vegan? You know, I have a lot more in common with him with other things that are far more important to me than whether he's a raw vegan or not. We both were heading in a Christian direction, and I got saved during that time. So we had a lot in common. I am also a recovering alcoholic, and so is my husband. So we have a lot of things that we believe in the same politically. We have a lot of the same views, and we live a lot the same. We both are kind of like a recluse. We like to be away from things and people. We don't vacation a lot. We live on 7 acres of property, and we both like gardening. And so, you know, there's just so many other things that we have in common. Now, he likes to can things. I'm not really into canning stuff. That's something they do in the South. But, you know, they boil things before they can them, so it's not really something that I resonate to very much. But, you know, I live and let live, and I live in this world where people are all different, and we're all different in one way or the other. And there's a lot of raw vegans out there that I would not resonate with at all because of the different spiritual beliefs that we have. So that is more of a priority to me than whether somebody is a raw vegan or not, although I do have raw vegan associates and people that I talk to in different groups that I have some things that I don't agree with them on, but there's a lot of things that, you know, we share on a raw vegan lifestyle that are the same, and I try not to judge other people in my relationships that I have with people that are more virtual relationships. And then I have relationships with people at my work, and I'm a beautician, and I have recently closed a salon and now work 3 days a week in a salon. And I worked by myself for many years, but worked with people, with the public, and all the people in the public that I've had for customers have all known about my lifestyle. They think it's a little bit weird, but you know, they really don't totally understand it. A lot of times they think that I'm just vegan, and they'll ask me, oh, how's the restaurant next door? Well, they eat cooked food. I don't eat that. Oh, you don't eat any cooked food? They've known me for years, but it's really hard to, you know, it is hard to explain these things to people. People do not live, we do not really live in a raw living world with raw vegan foods. It may be big in the raw vegan community and on YouTube and different things, but it's really not in everyday life, especially living here in the South. This is not prevalent here at all with people. But my family understands that I don't eat the stuff that they eat. So regardless of whether they know these things or not, they do support me on it. And my husband supports me on this 100%. And that's what's most important to me. If anybody was to be thinking about raw vegan life and they're interested in it and they feel like, how would I do this when my husband and my kids don't do it and things, people do find ways to do it. There are people out there doing it, and it doesn't always have to be where your spouse or person that you're with has to be raw vegan. Now, for some people, if that's the most important thing in their life is their food, and that situation doesn't work for them, not having a husband or a wife that's into that, that might be the case for some people. It's not the case for me. I'm perfectly happy with what I have, and if my husband decided to go raw vegan, yeah, I'd be thrilled to death. I'm not going to lie about that. You know, I have to cook him different foods, although he eats a lot of vegan food and doesn't complain about any of my food. But since I don't eat cooked, it's a little bit different for me. It would be probably easier if he ate raw, but I've never pushed the issue on him. I let him decide what he wants to do. So as far as relationships go, I just kind of try to be neutral with people about everything. Everybody has their own ideas, and everybody is different, whether you're raw vegan or whether you're a carnivore or whether you are a Christian or a non-Christian or you believe in other beliefs. We're all different, and I try to respect everybody the same. Friends go, you know, we all have to have some friends, and sometimes you have really close friends. Sometimes you have friends on Facebook, you have virtual friends, you have kind of associate friends in your workplace. It all depends. A lot of the really close friends that I had through the years, there's a couple of them that have passed away. A lot of it had to do with drinking and drugs and things like that, and I kind of got away from all that stuff in my life. And living in a raw vegan lifestyle, it's really hard to have friends and have social life and go out to eat and do things like that. That can be a little bit difficult, but now there are some people out there that are raw vegan that I've seen that do socialize a whole lot more than what I do, and they've learned how to bring their own dressings and what to order, and there's a lot of things out there that you can do in order to be able to exist in the world with people and friends and have this lifestyle. However, you know, with COVID having been going on now for a long time, and me being kind of a person who loves to be at home, I don't really care to go out to eat very often. I'm not a real, like, social person. I guess in my workplace and all the people I know in town, and I was in business for a long time, I'm very social that way. But in my personal life, I like to make my raw foods in the kitchen, and I like to eat at home, and if I eat stuff out, it just doesn't taste as good to me as my own food, unless I go to a really expensive raw vegan restaurant, which I have done that, only on holidays, or, you know, maybe on an anniversary, which is coming up pretty soon. And my husband and I had went to the Laughing Seed last year, and I may go back to that. But other than that, I don't really eat out. I never did do the raw vegan restaurants all the time. I've mostly done stuff at home, and it's kind of hard for me to have friends and a social life. Virtual friends, I've got a lot of those, talking on Facebook, and a lot of friends that I grew up with that are on Instagram, Facebook, all of those things. And, you know, there's a world out there of all kinds of different people and all kinds of different things. And learning to adapt to living on a raw vegan lifestyle, you do kind of have to have some interaction with people that are interested in the same kind of food as you are, whether they're interested in your spiritual beliefs or they know anything about you, or your marriage is not important. It's important to have a little bit of that interaction. Even for me, somebody who doesn't interact a lot with friends and go out and do things like that, I do like to interact a little bit with the outside world, whether it be virtual or whichever way. And, you know, I have different friends in different places as far as that goes, if you want to call them friends or associates. Some of them are on Instagram. Some of them are people that I know from church. And they're a whole different group of people, because none of those people are raw foodists or have any interest in raw food. And, you know, that's a whole other chapter that I'll get into in a little bit. But I enjoy the lifestyle that I live, and it may come to someday down the road, I may have more friends that are raw vegans, and I may interact more, and life can change. Life is always changing. There's always different things going on in the future for everybody. And I think that it is important, though, for people to have those things, to have somebody in their life that is supportive of the lifestyle if they're deciding to live on this raw vegan lifestyle. And I think it is important to have some kind of interaction with friends that you can share recipes with, and you can talk about your feelings as far as raw foods and the way it makes you feel. And every raw foodist is going to be a little bit different from one another. I really don't like being categorized when people say, you know, well, you raw vegans, because raw vegans are not all the same. There are some that eat different foods. There's some that have different lives altogether. I mean, we are all different as individuals. So as far as family goes, and how do I kind of live on this raw vegan lifestyle with family? How do people manage this with lots of family members that don't understand this lifestyle, don't have any idea what you're doing? They sort of think they know what you're doing, but they really don't exactly know what you're doing. And, you know, how do people handle it? How do people, at different gatherings, and with family, you have weddings, you have places to go all the time, children, aunts, uncles, people, whoever they are. So, you know, I have 3 kids, and, you know, none of them are raw vegans. 2 of them have been diagnosed diabetic. Their father has strong diabetic pool, but they've both always been kind of interested in health, and they both are at the gym and working out and things of that nature. So a lot of my kids have been physically fit and things. As far as having an interest in raw vegan lifestyle, my son has had a little bit of interest in asking me a few questions, but most of the time people are busy in life. They really don't take the time to worry about exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, However, when something happens and they need to ask somebody some questions about health things, they always come to Mom with things, because Mom will know what that is, because I study all these things. These are just things that even before I became raw, I was always into herbs and different things that I've read and tried and used, and you know, I've just done a lot in my life as far as that stuff, because I've always had an interest in it. So as far as family goes, everybody kind of knows what I do, and I think that it's important for people out there to have support in their family, whatever their situation is, whether they have kids or not, and support what they do. My oldest daughter, she's a carnivore. She loves meat. She can't live without meat at her meal, and if she comes over for her birthday, I may make her a steak. I know how to cook it. I just don't want to eat it. So, and they know that. They know that I'm not going to touch it, but I don't preach. I don't preach to them. I do my ranting on my YouTubes, and if they want to hear me rant, they can go on the YouTube. They don't have to be preached to. I don't preach to anybody about different things, much less try to preach to my family. When I'm spending family time, I want to be with my family. I try to keep my priorities where they belong, and this is how I handle. I don't live in a raw vegan world. My world around me, there is no raw veganism. There's not even really many vegans, much less raw, in the area where I live, or the people that I'm around, and the circles that I'm around anywhere. So I really adapt to it my own way, and I think that anybody can if they want to, if they have that support, and hopefully families will support what you're doing with your life, and not try to give you the same respect that you are giving them. And that's the way I feel. Why do I want to preach to other people about my raw vegan and how I think that this is the way people should live? Personally, if people ask me, and I will tell you, yes, I think that this was originally God's design. I don't think that all the processed foods and all of the chemicals and everything are things that we should have been putting in our body that leads to a lot of disease. And I know that I feel 100 times better, and I can rant on and on and on about how good I feel and how happy I am on this lifestyle. Whether that influences anybody or not, I don't know. But I know that if anybody is interested in the lifestyle, I'm more than happy to try to be somebody that people are looking up to, that want to hear what I have to say, and that are hoping to get something out of what I'm saying, because I've always listened to other people and learned from other people, things that I didn't know and things that I had to study myself and find out about my own body. And I always tell people to try to listen to their own body, but I like to be inspiring. I really do like to inspire people, or I wouldn't bother doing the videos. Inspiring people really makes me feel good. It really makes me happy to see somebody else want to do this. And it's just something that I really enjoy. And I hope that people understand that I'm not trying to be judgmental when I say these things, and that I'm just trying to talk about my experiences and what I deal with in my family. I don't have a hard time with living a raw vegan lifestyle. Like I talked about, my husband and family, big Southern family, we have these big get-togethers, and they invite us all the time to different events, and I go and I always bring my raw vegan salads or some plate that I made year after year. I go to these events with family, and they're always interested in what I'm eating, but they never ask me if I want cornbread or if I want something that's not. So spirituality is something that is really kind of a hard thing to try to not be judgmental about when you've decided to become a Christian and you were saved. It's hard living in the world, probably harder living in the world as a Christian than it is actually as a raw vegan. You know, I can go into church and I love to go to Sunday school. There's a much older group in there. My husband and I are probably the youngest people in there, and they're funny, and we talk about a subject in the Bible, and you know, they're always eating foods that I don't eat. There's always cakes and there's always junk food at church. Church is like the biggest place for eating all kinds of different foods that aren't healthy as far as I'm concerned. But you know, they're not judgmental of me because of the way I eat, and because I never have a cup of coffee, and I bring my water and fast, or I may eat fruit or something when everybody else is eating cake. And I don't like to offend people that I don't want to eat their baked foods and things, but I definitely know that I have a lot in common with them as far as being there, wanting to learn the word of Jesus Christ. The word that is in the Bible is what I'm studying. I am no longer involved in New World religion or ideas, and you know, I can relate to these people because of that, even though I can't relate to them about the food. So it's more important to me about that than it actually is about food. And you know, I have an easier time handling people that are eating cakes instead of salad like I am than I do with people that think that I'm being religious and judgmental, or they don't understand the road that I cross to get to where I am. And I don't really judge people that are involved in the New World Religion Act. I just tell them that I am no longer doing that. I am not doing Kundalini yoga. I don't do yoga anymore. I used to do yoga. I use these eccentrics now, they're called, and this is a new program that I've gotten involved with that doesn't deal with a lot of background on spirits and different things that I don't want to be involved in. So I don't choose to do yoga. I don't tell people not to do yoga. I tell them why I don't do yoga, as opposed to, you know, that I'm trying to tell them not to do yoga. And that's a choice that I made. And that choice that I made in my spirituality was actually made just by prayer. It wasn't really something that I actually chose. I got saved and I prayed about it. I still did yoga after the years of being saved, and I was kind of on the fence with not really understanding why I couldn't do it, so I prayed about it. I couldn't really understand why I had to clear out my house of things that I had in it. You know, I used to have a lot of Buddhas, and I had a lot of different things, and I know people that still have those things and possess those things in their house, and I don't judge them by having those things. You know, we all have to go on our own spiritual path. And I have to be open-minded about everything in this world, living the lifestyle that I live in, both a raw vegan and a Christian lifestyle. And I have to be open one way or the other. The only thing that I would have a hard time with is if somebody was telling me that I was crazy for not wanting to do Kundalini yoga. I must do Kundalini, as long as I'm not pushed. And I have to say then that the Lord said to turn away from these things of the world, and I don't have to, I will be open-minded with people that choose different things on whatever path they're going and relate to them with what I can relate to them on, which is the foods and what kinds of foods inspire them. It's interesting to be able to talk sometimes to people that have some of the same things in your life, even though they may not be on the same spiritual realm. So that's kind of the way that I deal with things, being a raw vegan and having the spiritual beliefs that I do. And I have to say that I have been shunned out a little bit by some people, and I don't have many friends, going back to the friends, but I don't really, I'm supposing that there are raw vegans around, and I've seen some different things and situations, and I don't engage in a lot of different things because of the fact that it's hard for me to relate on the spiritual realm. Although I'm open-minded to it, they're not very open-minded about what I have to say or what I might say or what I might have said even in a video. And I realize that there are going to be people out there that might be interested in my raw vegan ideas, but as soon as they hear my spiritual beliefs, I lose people right away sometimes. And sometimes I do put things in my description videos about different verses. I have decided to always have God in with everything I do. I don't want to be worldly and not have the Lord Jesus Christ there with everything that I do, because it just gets a little bit too worldly for me. I need to have that interaction with the Lord Jesus Christ with me when I even speak about foods and I talk to other raw vegans. I always try to express some form of what I believe that comes from the Bible. But some of these things that I put in the descriptions sometimes that I get from the Bible, which is a Bible chapter quote, sometimes there's things that are pulled up in those that might get a little bit religious, because I don't really know what they put on every single website. Some of the websites have all these different interpretations, I guess you can say, of what the word means. And it might not be to some people's likings, and I have gotten some different people commenting on things of that nature, but I don't put those captions in there to say that when you get onto these sites that talk about that particular chapter, that I don't know exactly every single version of what people are getting from that version. I just know that the only thing that I believe in as far as the good book goes is the entire Bible. And this is what I spiritually believe and try to express to the best that I can without being offensive. But just reading quotes is just a part of things. It's giving people a piece of something, but people need to read the entire thing in order to be understanding of what things exactly mean. And in my opinion, there's a lot of misinterpretations, and there's a lot out there in the world today that people are not respecting other people's thoughts and other people's way of eating and life, and carnivores bashing other people, and vegans bashing carnivores, and people bashing people that they don't like religion, people not liking what other people are doing in religion. So it's very borderline on where to go. I don't consider myself religious, really. I consider myself a Christian, but I really don't consider myself religious, especially since I don't claim a religion. I do attend a church that is not one of those churches that doesn't have any religion. I went to one of those for a little while, and they're not around anymore. I started going to this Baptist church, That's another difference that I have with those people. They are Baptists. I'm really not a Baptist, but that doesn't mean that I can't sit in a room and study the Word with them. I may not believe everything or agree, I guess I should say, with every single thing of what they think. So I have to live in this world, and I have to find ways to get around all these things in people, relationships, family, spirituality. All of these things are things that are really important in our lives every day, and we all have to figure out where we stand and where we're comfortable. And if somebody's not comfortable around me because they feel that I'm religious, or they feel that they don't want to hear about Jesus, they rather have crystals and other things, I have to respect that that's where they're at. I can't really do anything to change them. I changed because of my experience. I changed because something happened in my life that made me look at things on a different outlet, and I started praying about things, that things just started happening, and I started seeing a different light pertaining to why I stopped doing yoga and why I stopped certain practices that I used to do, that I used to believe in. I finally got to the point where I really, really wanted to know. I wanted to know the truth about why these things made me feel this way, why I couldn't get rid of certain things in my life, why I was going through some of the things I was going through. And these were things that the Lord Jesus Christ laid on my heart, my soul, and my spirit, and this is what changed me spiritually from where I was to who I am today. I don't have the right to point fingers at other people, but I can share my experience and why I changed from those worldly things that I was doing. So that's pretty much the way that I handle all of my situations in my life, and I think it's very important for people that want to live in this lifestyle to handle all of these different things, because there's a lot to deal with in just being a raw vegan and trying to live on these raw living foods and sustain your life when it's way out of the box toward the rest of the world, but it is not impossible. It is a way of life that can be done, and it is a way of life that the more that you're on it, the easier it will get, and it'll become like second nature to sprout, and it will just be a lot easier to do all these things the more that you learn them and you understand how it makes your body feel. You have to get to know your own body, and you have to have your own journey. You have to have your own spiritual journey. So I respect wherever anybody is at in their life, but I definitely know that where I'm at in my life changed because of my different things that I have been through, and the journey that I just lived. Life is a journey every day, and there's so many things out there for us to deal with on a daily basis. There's a lot of bad things going on out there, and there's a lot of things that people are getting on YouTube and talking about other people, and there's people out there that have lived vegan lives that have had problems in their lives, that with even being raw vegan, that have gotten sick. And I could say what my opinions are on those things and what I feel spiritually about a lot of that stuff, that there are a lot of curses and a lot of things that if you're not practicing certain right things, certain things can catch up with you even on a raw vegan lifestyle. I prefer myself to do my raw vegan living on a living God, a real God, not things that pertain to a million different gods and different idols. And it speaks about idolatry in the Bible, and I don't want to idolize. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, And video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and have a wonderful, blessed day.